The Yoga Center Aura, Part 4, 2014 year. Pranayama in the place of power. So today we have two topics for discussion. The main topic is practice in the places of power and necessity of it. And for doing this, we need to understand, who of you how understand what the place of power means. You've probably heard this term, and I regularly think of what the place of power means myself. Different people understand it differently. Please tell me from your point of view, what does the place of power mean? The energy place in which you can saturate yourself and renew. Indeed, it is really so. This is connected with the worship place in some way. Why? There is in Tibet, no, not in Tibet, but in the Himalayas, the concept of caves. It is a very rare thing. Why rare? Because I will give you another example about the Himalayas. Probably you have heard that the Ganges River is very rapid with a strong energy. The energy is really very strong, good, and if you will go to the headwaters of the Ganges, Gangotri, you think to go to the riverbank to practice. You come to the riverbank and look at the place and think that it is quite a good place. The river is under you, the stone is more or less flat and fully covered with blackberry. It is such a plant. It looks like a raspberry, but with the needles, and all these places are covered with the piles of branches with the needles. And you wonder, what's such a nice place to sit and to practice, but somebody like a bear just spoiled everything. Perhaps you don't know that it was a bear, but who lives in the forest, and if it finds an apple tree or a pear tree, do you know what he does? Well, probably you don't know because of the silence. Does it shake it?
Трясет. Вы очень хорошего мнения медведя. Рвет с корня. Какие еще варианты грызет? Еще что?
You have suggested a very good opinion. Well, he must make a lot of piles in order not to anybody to come closer. Only he will have it. I am not kidding, really. It exists a hunting story. Yogis in Himalayas live with the same worldview. If they find a good place, they fill it up with branches of blackberries in order to sit there only himself. Even if there is a good stone in the river and it is possible to sit on it, they even will fill with branches in order to sit on it and like saying, this is my stone. Can you imagine what yogis? The same situation is with the caves. Why? If you try to look for a cave, so on the other hand, it is protected by the spirits. According to the writings, it is said that if there exists a cave where a yogi can reach something, so this cave is protected by the local spirits. They won't let you reach it, so to say, they will entangle you and won't let you come there, because they protect the energy of that place from the person who should not be allowed to go there. Why? Because when the person reaches something in this place, he stays, so this place fills with his realization. What does the realization mean in this case? When a person can combine his consciousness with some kind of God's personality, with the deities he can build relationships. His body begins to retransmit that energy his mind has stuck in this world. So he transfers in his subtle body to the God's world. He talks with him at some certain level, and his body will resonate with this energy here. That is why the space around him becomes the quality of that world where he had gone. That is why such places, as you have rightly mentioned, or as you say, the sacred place is the place where somebody managed to change his energy. Somebody has raised his energy. What does it mean? An ordinary person who lives ordinary life and takes everything from it, generally has a descending energy. Very rare some kshatriyas who live in the society, if they protect their interests, fight to prove something, has ascending energy, so to say, the energy goes up, and the person also changes the space around him. But in generally, it is descending energy, and if put the person in that place where somebody had reached something as a result of his inner experience, so the person can feel what we were talking about. So to say, he can feel some certain trust, but not always. Actually, the strong energy can frighten. For example, if the person takes everything from the life and is on the Svadhisthana chakra, that is why two main emotions he experiences are what he likes and what he is afraid of. And that is why Svadhisthana has two qualities. He likes something when this chakra vibrates, or otherwise he is scared. And if it will be the strong energy, he will be scared. It is really so according to the writings, and you can read the Jataka, disgrace of 6 Brahmanic teachers. It is described there how, on one meeting where there were many million people, and when Indra and Brahma appeared at the people, all the people were shocked. They had food, but nobody ate, because they all were really shocked when they saw the deity's energy. That is why to have trust the energy should be available and even pleasant for the person on his level. If the energy will be very strong, the person probably won't treat it with trust.
Поэтому вот, чтобы было доверие, возможно, энергия должна быть доступна, понятна и, возможно, даже приятна человеку, вот его уровня. Тогда будет приятно. Если энергия будет очень сильная, то вряд ли он, как сказать, с доверием к ней отнесется.
Concerning situation, yes, it is really so. If you come and sit and you can feel some certain progress in some place energetically fulfilled. We do it regularly in our club, and moreover the whole yoga camp aura, where you are now, have appeared due to the so-called places of the power. Each year, or several times a year, we go to the countries where the information about the wise men of the past is saved. Particularly, it is the places of Buddha Shakyamuni. These are the famous cities where he had reached enlightenment. He lived for a long time, went away to Nirvana, was born and moved the law will in Sarnath. So we go along these cities and give the opportunities to people to obtain some experience. Actually, these trips are made for the teachers. I mean for the yoga teachers who goes with some groups because he is so exhausted till the end of the year and he has difficulties the next year. That is why it is a must for him to visit such places where he can get the energy for the further development. We don't often go along such places, just once half a year or once a year. There exist certain statistics. We take the next group, and at the beginning some people can have some problems, but those who finally reach their destination feel what they have never felt before. And people start to practice more or less seriously.
В этих местах начинают чувствовать определенные изменения, то есть чувствовать то, чего не было раньше.
Usually, I gave a very bright example of such situation. It is the case with Masha Bosharnikova, and if you don't believe me, phone her. Now she teaches yoga in Moscow. She looks high at yoga, to put it mildly. Just yoga and yoga, asana, rasana. And then we came with her to the Mount Grikrakuta, who was with us. There are some caves you can practice and stay alone. So the girl, the yoga teacher of the basic level, who treated yoga as physical training, came to this cave and sat in meditation, and if not the guards who came in 6 hours, I don't remember. If they sat for 6 or 8 hours, they didn't want to go away, because of the guards who came and told to leave the place, because monkeys would come and they could suffer. Because monkeys behave ferociously there at night. That is why all are taken away from there. But actually, without any preparation, just imagine the person who, to put it mildly, just came by bus and sat into meditation for 8 hours. And there are a lot of such examples. So to say, people who come to such certain places have a shift in the reality perception. Why? Because such places are really saturated by the energy of the yogis and absolutely not in the on the basic level. I won't advertise, but just tell you why I have mentioned that the yoga center aura has appeared of this. I know the problem of the teachers, and the first time teacher visits places with a strong energy, it is very hard for him to stay on the yoga path. And once we came in this trip, actually at the end of our trip, we need to visit the last place, Lumbini, but to be more precise, Kapilavastu. We went from Lumbini to Kapilavastu. Buddha Shakyamuni was born in Lumbini and his family lived in Kapilavastu. There were 5 kilometers between them. But the problem is that in India there are such fogs that if you stretch your arm before you forward, you can't see your fingers. The fog is just like kisel. Nothing is seen, and we should go by bus these 5 kilometers, and we went 1.5 hours. So to say, we departed and were going almost crawling this 1.5 hours. And I thought that our trip was a success. Moreover, it could not be so that if you have 20 people in your group, that the trip will be 1% good and nice for all the people. Even not for 15%, but 30-40% of people usually have the shift of the reality perception. I was sitting in the bus and thinking about the guys who had obtained some experience, because it is clear that if the person had it, so he will develop further. It was a girl sitting there yesterday. I don't see her now, is in the room, and she asked why to practice yoga, why to obtain some experience. It is just for your further development. If you don't have any experience, you won't make such efforts then, because any efforts are limited. It turns out that you will make efforts and make efforts, and if you don't make any experience, you will lose your faith on the way you go. So, when we were going on this bus, I was thinking about this topic, and suddenly some pictures started to appear. That in Russia there are quite a lot of places where there are a lot of energy and silence. And what prevents us from creating such places where people can practice? So from that trip, the idea of the power place to develop in Russia appeared. It would seem to understand that the place of power means you need to have your private experience. So to say, if you have some experience in some place, for you it will be your place of power. I repeat once again that for everybody this place of power will be different. And it is important how that the guys had mentioned, the energy of the power itself you can feel can be absolutely different. It can be with the minus or with the plus. Anyway, your hair will move and you will feel some flows. Moreover, it doesn't mean that it will be the positive place. There are such places with very strong negative energy, and you will feel it too. But it is difficult to say how it will influence on you later. It can be different, mildly to say. So to say, some certain shifts can be different.
Но как она потом повлияет на ваше мировоззрение, сложно сказать, по-разному, мягко говоря. То есть по-разному могут быть определенные сдвиги.
Concerning this space, there exists such a widely spread opinion. Try to understand that it is a very wide opinion concerning this space. I repeat once again that many speak about this who wants to go to the space into the vacuum, but I wouldn't recommend you. You won't feel anything there. It is easier to find a place where one of the yogis had practiced and get some experience. By the way, there is a hill not far away from us. It's quite big and it's called Tarkov Hill, where if you go, Tark. Does this name tell you anything? There is opinion that Russia was used to call Tartaria, Tatk or Tarya, two deities who were the founders of Russia, so to say, the country you were born. So, not far from here, about 7-8 kilometers, there is a hill, and it is written Tarkov Hill there.
7-8, наверное, где-то так. Может, даже меньше чуть. Находится холм, на котором так и написано Тархов холм.
Of course, Christians have put their cross there. For what reason, I don't know. But nevertheless, the cross is cemented.
Но, в общем, тем не менее, вне зависимости от того, что там крест железобетонировали, потому что...
Because from time to time some people dug it out, and it is again cemented. It is the fight of egregores. Nevertheless, it is the flat ground and the big hill there, called Tarkov Hill. And even if you go there and sit there, you will feel the ascending of the energy. You will feel that it is ascending. The main difference between these places of power is in the energy. There is outgoing energy, which is very strong. There is ascending, which is also very strong. And there is neutral. How to define your own body is the best indicator.
Между минусом и плюсом?
The ascending is the plus, the descending is the minus. The descending energy is the energy your consciousness will drag down, and the ascending energy is that energy that be rising up. A lot of even not experience but tests when the person who regularly practices on the certain stage feels the energy rising up to his head and energy sphere, so to say, appears. Many yogis can feel it. If you don't feel it now, you will feel it later. But the main idea that the person knows that to rise the energy, he should practice 2-3 hours. So to say, he knows that if he practices 2-3 hours, he can raise energy into his head. He defines by his experience that if he had rising up energy to the head automatically, he has no negative thoughts, irritation, lust, some negative things. When the energy is up, negative things are absent. Once you raise your energy, you're almost on the other planet. So to say, everything is okay. You smile to everyone, and the worst enemy beside you is such a cute sheep, and you can pet. I just exaggerate. But your view on the reality will change, and you will see the world around more positive. At the same time, if you get into a negative place with the descending energy, you will feel fear, ambitions, actually everything that will disturb you. But I repeat it once again, that people are different, and each of you should obtain your own experience. I cannot say that to obtain some negative experience is bad for somebody. No, there are such places considered not to be very good, but they just... I give you an example. If you read some ancient writings, you will learn such things. The classical cemeteries were considered as the places of power in the eastern countries. So to say, the cemeteries where corpses were brought to burn or for birds to eat, because when a poor man died, who should burn him and to find wood? So it was made for those who had nothing, who burned all their tapas during their life, and finally they had nothing, having no caring children no relatives, nobody. They were alone and lost everything. So such people were left for birds or animals to be eaten. Cemeteries were considered the places of power. This doesn't mean that there is positive energy, which can make your consciousness push up. Of course, many of you probably don't have such experience. I recommend you to live in the forest, in the tent, in the mountains. Just take a tent and nobody around you for some kilometers. And live in the nature. You will have some sort of stress. But from the other hand, your vital forces will mobilize. Your body has such a quality of all the vital forces mobilization. So when your body feels fear, you absolutely will be frightened. If you get used to live as a city person in a flat, just place yourself into some unusual conditions, and I'm sure your mobilization will be very strong. This helps you to mobilize from the one hand or from the other, to see your negative qualities, because many of you live and don't know how much fear you have inside of you, because you are okay and everything is stable in your life, but fear exists. You just don't know about this. So it is recommended to place yourself in a place, to put it mildly, where animals live that eat corpse. These animals will go around you and sometimes roar, looking at you at some food or something like that. Oh, it is great, but this is not for everybody, not for nervous ones. This is for those people who build their relationship with their karma. Nevertheless, this place is considered the place of power, and if you won't feel anything, you will get a good kick for your further development, and that will stimulate you. Concerning this space, I repeat once again, the space is probably called the entire underworld. The notion the underworld is dissimilar and ambiguous. The subtle world is considered kind and nice, but who told you so? I give you an example. There exists such a trend when people, with the help of the pendulum, it is such a weight hanging on the string, and with the help of this pendulum they try to understand if it is good or bad, whether to go or not to go. So to say, some spirits answer the questions when the pendulum is hung from side to side. There exists even the yoga style where they use the same method. They began to rely on opinions of the subtle world concerning asana. They draw asana, take the pendulum, and if it hangs, so this asana is for you to do it. Another asana is without hanging. It is not your asana. So those asanas which the pendulum hangs are yours, and they make the complex on their basis, and then realize this complex. But the problem is that they receive not the result they had expected from this complex. Yes, from the other hand, it is energetically, but what is not energetic? Do any asana regularly and they will give you energy. The important thing is to do it regularly, but the main problem is that many people come to the whole loss of themselves. Yes, really. There was one yoga teacher in our yoga center, Aura. Actually, he is still there, I hope. Once a man came to us on the teaching course from another city. He was so sensitive, friendly and sincere, and the yoga representative I had talked about with the pendulum method came to us. He was so nice guy, he spoke so cool, and our young man was so inspired by his talking, because everything was so nicely said. And really, if the man has very strong energy, he speaks with authority and strongly on the other hand. Besides this, if this man is also the conductor of the egregor, so when this man speaks, the egregor can influence strongly on people. So our young man believed in this yoga as the best yoga. So he went to the seminar to this man. Later he went to the founder of this style. He started to practice, and if I'm not mistaken, he was practicing about 1.5 years. And he asked me, the thing is that I always try not to say something bad about anybody. It is senseless. I can say that there exists such a style. I have just told him faithfully that I have studied this trend some time ago when there was no pendulum, but I was shocked by their founder's soullessness, so to say, the man who promoted this style. There were a lot of things that made me shocked. I just named the things I was not agree with him. That is why I stopped to practice it and started to go on my searches and collect knowledge from the other trends. But I told him to study if he wanted, it's no problem. Why do I say so? Because if the person has his karma to go on some certain way, he will raise bumps on this way, and it is worth to begin. Maybe I think that it was heartless, but I didn't feel sorry for him. I understood that he will receive fully, but if the man didn't understand from the first time, it can be a problem. Though he was explained, he should obtain his own experience. Moreover, even if he didn't receive and would be happy, so this is his way. All the ways are good. Each person chooses his own way. Finally, this year, having practiced a year and a half according this system, this guy made his own complex. And it was the time we were in the yoga camp in the Caucasus. We went there. He told me that he didn't know how to live. He was in depression and he was thinking about how to go away from this world and so on and so forth. I was happy that he had realized all this. His name was Pasha. And I told him why he was asking me all these questions and why he didn't write a letter to the founder of this style saying that he has practicing according this style and this and that things happened and how it would be interesting for him to read what happened with his followers. I don't actually know, but it seemed to me that he felt a bit better. At least according to the last letters, he started to react adequately on same suggestions. Because to speak with a person with a lot of energy is senseless. He can't hear you. He is in his reality, and this is his energy. Moreover, he even doesn't realize what kind of energy he has, and what this energy is by itself, and where it comes from. He is just full of energy. That is why the notion, the space, is very wide. And I repeat it once again, that the same larva will be on that pendulum which wants to suck you fully. Yes, it is your karma. The question from the audience. This space, I have meant that prayers reach the God faster and the dreams come true. You can be recorded as the monologue. Fantastic. The question from the audience. There are just very religious people around. For some reasons, they are consumers. Didn't it seem to you? The question from the audience. Yes, it is really so. It is not right, but it is so. Has this place really got some power? The gods gather together, choose deity, desires? They gather, and for some reason they meet their wishes. Doesn't this seem to you a bit strange? I'm even afraid of listening to such topics. What kind of gods they should be to meet passions? If the people which are not in not developed state, well, what can a child desire, or a young man? They spend all their energy on their desires. The question from the audience. Why does the man ill? Tell me, please, why did the man lose his health? The answer from the audience. It is often his fault. It is his karma. Right you are. It turns out that he had karmed, lost his health, and then he said that he has a little health and asked for some 10 kilos he want to drink. Try to understand the system of consumption when at the level of gods they are wanted for something. This is a miserable concept. From this point of view, it is more useful to study the Vedic culture, where the gods build relationships with their followers. Yes, your passion or ambition can be met if you make efforts and austerities for a long time. It is regularly made in the writings. So the person takes an austerity, roughly said suffers that his body is on the edge of surviving. So the gods have nothing to do but send him with his mission he should fulfill. They come to him and ask what he wants. Yes, no problem, we'll give you blessing, you are free. He says, hooray, and ran away. I will fight everyone because I want it so much. Agree, it is very strange. You will pay for everything in this world. If you are based on the film Secret, where the universe just gives you all you want and makes your desires come true, it is foolish and silly. From where does the universe take mansions and cars, beautiful people of the opposite sex? There is not enough to go around. So it turns out that some people chosen by God want all this for themselves, and the rest ones. Aren't they chosen by God? They are slaves, so we will have everything. This doesn't happen. It is very natural in the space, and if you have taken this, you will give us something in this or that form. It is all inter-revealed. But I repeat it once again. You have mentioned correctly that there are some categories of people who treat the universe naively, like a child. So to say, I just want this toy, moreover, no matter what kind of a toy. So that is why friends treat the space very carefully. That is why they were looking not for a spirit who is presented as a deity, who can help you giving some pieces of advice. You just receive answers, and it often happens. And how the experience shows, women are often caught by this. When a woman finds some source of information, she starts to talk with it and she is given answers. She receives answers just only some simple questions, but she will be caught and cheated on some big things. It is like she is hooked, and then when she is felt to be caught, she is cheated fully. To take energy from Jiva so much that you won't find it funny. That is why you should not trust the subtle world, and that is why the teachers were looking for in the ancient times in order not to base on some subtle world, but to see a real person so you can see how he lives, what worldview he has, and after this you can build some relationship with this man. Why did I tell you all this? Because you should be very careful with the subtle world. When it starts to build relationship with you, never believe anybody. That is so nice there. The fifth concept is that there exist some nadis, or energetic channels, in the earth itself, where the energy flows, and if you get into these energies, you get some certain experiences. Yes, it really exists. I give you an example. There exists Kailash in this world, that is considered as the center of the world. It doesn't so from the geographic or electromagnetic points of view. Kailash is not on this place now, but nevertheless it is called the center of the world, according to the writings, and it is really so. People who get there by their karma, but not all of those who want to get there reach Kailash. We regularly go there with the groups of the men, and the man wants to get there, and at the last moment something happens. The sifting is quite big, but nevertheless, if the man gets there, he can get some experience. But not only Kailash should be examined for the Europeans. The whole way should be examined with the European have to go in order to get to that place. This is a high mountain, this is scarcity of oxygen, and the person should regularly practice yoga. At least in our groups, we practice each day in order to make kora around Kailash. Before kora, we recommended practicing, preparing for it, and studying the information about it, and that is why the person sees Kailash as the whole, and he has some changes both on the energetic level and on the informational. He starts to realize some things better, which he didn't understand in common conditions. He has such micro-enlightenments. Moreover, as the experience shows, the person who reached Kailash really has changes, and I didn't invent this. It is the statistics, and if you don't want to believe me, ask the real man whose name is Lyosha Halo. He collects statistics. He made statistics, and you can ask him. He goes with us each year, and each time he asks the group what happens to each of the person and if there are any changes. In the large majority, this is a certain progress, so to say, the things start to develop with another speed. I will give you an example. There was a man without any progress and any development, so to say, the dead end. So he went to Kailash, reached it, and immediately everything moved from the dead center, and some changes started to that side he had wanted. That is why there really exist some places where the energy is very strong from the real nature, from the Earth planet. But from the other hand, everything about Kailash can be found in some writings through all the Vedic 1000-year history which exists in the Vedic culture. Actually, I don't remember if it is described in the Ramayana. Really, I just don't remember. But Kailash is mentioned in some writings which are about 5000 years old. In Yoga Vasishtha it is mentioned. So to say, thousands years ago, every day and every week, just imagine people made kora around this mountain. Moreover, there can be sometimes so many people. Once we were there in the so-called high season, where on Durmala, it is main mountain pass, you should have some certain efforts to climb up. So there were so many people there that you should wait when the person before you could make the next step in order for you to do it. So to say, we stayed back to back. There were a huge number of people, and just imagine what amount of people regularly curve up the energy around Kailash. Really, they make the energetic center, or as you say, the worship center. But it's not so easy with Kailash. It is really a mystic mountain, even if you don't see with your physical eyes what happens there. But from the mystic side, a lot of things happen there. There is a north face, which is as cemented. The mountains, if you have ever seen them, are the massive rock, understand? But the north face of Kailash is seen to be put into the form of the patches from stones in cement. There are just such big paving stones, as if made in the big cement mixer, and made such a path on the mouth. It is obviously not the natural origin. Why it is actually in this place and not in some other places? And the sizes are huge there. I even don't know how many kilometers in the width, and it can be seen how high it stretches, because it goes down the glacier. And all the other borders are absolutely normal. That is why some mystic exists there, and there are a lot of mystic things when people try to reach it unusual way. We have an enthusiast. His name is Lyosha Alexei. We met him right on Kailash. He is just a phenomenal man who lives in St. Petersburg. He is phenomenal from the point of view that he is a businessman, so to say. He makes money. He has his own business, but he can afford himself to travel because his business has been organized and it works itself. So this main hobby is traveling around the world. He has been to many countries that exist on Earth. He said it was about 140 countries. Well, everywhere where he can go and make a tick and say that he was there in this country. But the most interesting thing is not in this. He has outrageous staying power in Kailash. He makes kora around Kailash for 12 hours. So to say, he gets up in the morning, turns on the fifth speed and goes forward. Poor Tibetan porters who help him with his karma. I always feel sorry for them, because after 12 hours running, they cry because they have such a crazy Russian who tied them up. This man really has outrageous physical staying power, and now he looks for new ways to Kailash. He goes there not usual ways, but makes the radial ways along the shoulders. Kailash has shoulders, so he makes these ways along its shoulders to Nanda sarcophagus, and 1 year he got there twice. We always suggest all our guys who go with us to travel with us first time and the second time with Alexei, with the same route but the new kora. And once it was the year before the last, or even the year before the last year. The thing is that those who make kora always go there a bit earlier to go around more. And when we meet and come back to the mainland. So I know that they had come and asked where they are in that room, and I go to see the guys who have already made 2 climbings with Lyosha. I know that is a real overkill. I open the door, come in. There are bodies on the beds, and only their eyes move. Their eyes just shine, actually. Nothing more move. They lay mixed boys and girls, and they don't care. No division by the sex. They don't care, just to stay alive tomorrow, and tomorrow in the morning go for making kora.
Больше не шевелится ничего. Причем они, знаете, это как его объяснить? Они вперемешку лежат. Ребята, девчата, им уже пофигу. Разделение по половому признаку уже все равно. Лишь бы быть живы и завтра утром пойти на очередную кору.
But from another side, it is a drive. Such energy can come to you, but try to understand that it is really very hard there. It is a real austerity there. I tell you about this not to frighten you, but it is true. It is a real austerity because you know that you should go, and you cannot afford to turn back. You must go, and you go. It is difficult, hard, but you have no way. You must go up to your destination. Or who will understand you if you turn back? That is why they just make efforts. We never have health problems. Thanks God nobody was evacuated. Thanks to Alexei because he was on Kailash for many times. Kailash is the end point each year in our tours. Kailash is the extreme, so to say, for extremals. He has worked out his program very well. We have a long tour, so to say, we make kora not for a week. There are some agencies which suggest cheap Kailash. Yes, it is really cheap in October when you have snow at the level of your waist on. This doesn't say you anything about because Durumala is really overkill, but when it is waist-high snow, it is an overkill. It is a squared overkill. There are no tourists in October. That is why you can be sold cheap tour. So people go to Nepal in Kathmandu. They got into the bus and go 3,000 kilometers by bus. Do you know what the mountain disease means? Be happy if no, because it is a real breaking. Well, everything is made at a run, and people who get in such a tour usually have some troubles, to put it mildly. There are some bad things, but thanks to Alexei, the good program was worked out. And we have 3-week tour, and during these 3 weeks, we go around the whole Tibet just from the point of view of preparation for the last climbing. And we regularly climb up and down for acclimatization. We go up for some days, then go down for acclimatization. And due to this, preparation of the group is more or less good, and everything goes well. Well, it was an advertising of Tibet, but by fact. The question from the audience: and what is the difference between the height you have climbing up? The difference is just 700 meters, as I think from 2,300 to 5,700. Turmala is 5,600, 5,700. The question from the audience: it looks like rock climbing activities. No, the slope is flat there. Chinese has made business there using it. They make the roads, it is almost highway. If you go with Lyosha, you will climb there. They even use climbing irons in some places. They climb the glacier, and you must climb it because it grows.
Там действительно в некоторых местах они кошки эти альпинистские одевают и как бы лезут, что если ты хочешь вылезть, там действительно нужно лечь, ну как по леднику. То есть леднику нарастает, постоянно по леднику нужно лезть. Вот там у них, да, там экстрим хороший. Ой.
So I answer your question that the difference is not very big, but because the European cannot get used to live and breathe in these conditions, it is quite rarefied air, and the most important that the energy is so that it pushes away all difficulties the person has. So to say, you just reborn there. He came with one karma and came back with another one. It is considered that... Do you remember I have told you that sometimes there are a lot of people there? Particularly this year, the year of the horse, and one kora is considered as for 13 years. If you come there 1 year, it is considered to have good karma for 13 koras. If you make one kora, if God let you to do it, so your karma for some years will pure. But I don't remember for how many lives. I don't believe in these fairy tales. Not fairy tales, but it is senseless to think so. If you are led to make kora, so you will have progress. Think that you are very lucky. Why? Because those experiences you will have from the point of view of self-knowledge with the help of some spiritual experience. Because at the moment of death, the person catches for any opportunity. So to say, he becomes very religious, suddenly starts to believe in everything, and if he thinks about Kailash with his mind and such places which are considered to be strong with energy, so this influence is very good while his reincarnation. Do you understand why? He built some channels of connection. So it is clear that when the man visited Kailash, he built some other relationship with gods. And after the death it goes more painless. But actually it is an excuses. I hope that if the person was on Kailash, he will live more religious life and will be fine, of course. The question from the audience. Is it true that the relics of the saints who died and whose parts are in the churches in Christianity have the energy if you touch them? There is also some logic in this. If the person was really sacred, so everything around him is saturated with his energy. There is another tradition in the East. Nobody cut the body there, but they believe that the thing left after the teacher, such beads or something else that was near the teacher for many years, is considered to have a very energetic support. So to say, such a gift that will help the person in the difficult times. From the one hand, from the energetic point of view, it is so, but not from the cut body, but what the soul feels whose body was cut. Actually, according to some writings, bodies should be not cremated. Even they should not be buried into the soul. And do you know why they burned the body in the East? According to the Vedic traditions, it was called korodирование in Russia, when you were sent to your clan. Didn't you hear about this? The main thing is in the following. When you live, you consume regular jivatmas of the other creatures. You consume jivatmas of the products you digest. It turns out that you consist of small jivatmas you had consumed. And korodирование means that your body should be sent to your clan or to Brahma, as it is said in the Vedic culture. So to say, burning the body with the help of the fire, your physical body, in order to put all these jivatmas in order to evolve later. But according to the tradition, to bury the body, it is considered, at least there exists such an opinion, that it is not the best way, because the physical body is given for worms and bacteria to eat. Read about this in the internet. There are really a lot of opinions and a lot of information. So to say, the person is gone down on the level down. And from the point of view of cutting the body, I heard the opinion that it is not so good. Well, it is logical, clear, but maybe from these relics somebody will feel good. But why they don't think about that person, that soul, who had this physical body and now lives in another world, and somebody builds the cult of it? As for me, it is not reasonable. I think that in such discussion there is a part of logic, though maybe these people have some other notions why they do so. I don't do this.
У этих людей существуют какие-то другие понятия, почему они так делают. Я бы так не делал.
I think that if the body it doesn't function, it should be not treated for the cult as for me. The question from the audience: those who die and whose relics stay imperishable, and they go in Samadhi in Tibet, right? They are monks who 117 years old in Tibet, and nothing happened to their body.
Нет, я понял первую часть, а просто про Тибет вы что-то сказали.
В Тибете же тоже есть монахи, которые там, не помню точно имя, которые нетленные, уже 117 лет, если не ошибаюсь, его тело, ничего с ним не происходит, он просто...
In Kalmykia, no, it is not in Tibet, it is in Buryatia, and it is Lama Itigelov. Maybe I can be mistaken, but what happened to the sacred whose body is imperishable? I can't explain you the chemistry, I'm not a biologist, to put it mildly. There are some examples in yoga when the body can be saved. At least once I spoke with the man who saw with his own eyes, and I trust this man in some way. He talked about another example of not this one in Buryatia, who was salted for a long time. There was a sacred man Kala Rinpoche. He died at the beginning of 90s, and this man knew him before his life, and then he went to the monastery after some years, and Kala Rinpoche asked his students to make from his body the example of what you can reach with the help of yoga, so bacteria won't eat you. He sat into meditation and his body became stiff. Not became stiff, but became hard, and he sat in the pose. This man came in 3 years, as I remember, after his death, and after his death his body didn't change actually. So he was just sitting there and sitting. The one thing he told me was that the body started to reduce. So he knew color as he was while living, so he was the same during the years. He was just drying out. But later, if I am not mistaken, they burned the body after some years. So his body was given to fire, as it is accepted in the Buddhist tradition and the Vedic tradition. There are such precedents, but the main problem for the yogi is reincarnation, where you should go. But there are no two people alike. The main thing is the following, what I tried to get to you. If you reincarnate in some low level and you will manage to live your life effectively, not only for yourself, but for the others, so if you want it or not, but in your future life, you should be sent to the health resort to be cured a bit. I say it with the quotation marks. It is not a health resort, and there are special words for yogis when you recover after the low words, because it hurts to reincarnate in the world where passions dominate. And here it is, this process of recovering after reincarnation, want you or not. But if you are sad, these imperishable relics are concentrated, his touch, so energetically you will be connected with these things. And there is an opportunity that all the energy of this world will influence on you. At least there exists such an opinion that if the great yogis didn't manage to fully recover their energy after their previous reincarnation,
великие практики, если после предыдущего перевоплощения не успели восстановить полностью свою энергетику,
and they reincarnate in some lower world with whom they have the karmic connection, so they have they can have some problems from the body side. The karma problem, so to say, they didn't manage to work out their karma, so they are newly born with some karmic problems. So it is recommended not to be in the hurry and recover. Renew your energy and after this to reincarnate. Do you have any question concerning this topic? Concerning the practice itself, the topic we didn't cover yesterday. What does the pranayama give? Let's check your knowledge. What do you think about pranayama? Let's make a list and go through it so we won't have any misunderstanding or differences of some questions.
Что дает пранаяма? Давайте опять-таки рассмотрим ваши знания. То есть, как вы считаете, что такое пранаяма? Точно так же запишемся списком и пройдемся не по этому списку, чтобы не было у нас недопониманий или разночтений каких-то вопросов. Скажите, пожалуйста, что с вашей точки зрения является пранаямой? То есть давайте останавливаемся, уже места нет, наверное, на этом. Я думаю, этого нам хватит уже обсудить. Итак, пранаяма.
Stretching your breath when you are in the place of power, you influence on that energy which you don't use with the ordinary way. Physiologists have defined some experience, and any doctor or medic who is connected with the sport medicine will tell you that the certain experiments have been held with the real sportsmen, and it has been defined that the air among the person inhales and exhales is the following. Approximately 80% of the air the person inhales and exhales is without changes, and only in alveolar, when it comes into and out, you exhale from 15 to 20%. So you just run your air here and there on 80%. And in order to get not 15% of the air but more, you should make breath holding or stretch it.
И для того, чтобы вы получили не 15% воздуха или впитали, а больше, то вам нужно что сделать? Или задержать дыхание, или его растянуть. Понятна логика? Сейчас чуть позже.
When I give lecture about pranayama, I recommend you people to go into the street. Theoretically, we will do this. We stand up now, and I will show you prana, okay?
Прямо сейчас встаем и выходим около входа. Без коврика, мы постоим на ногах.
So, each of you could see more or less the so-called prana. If you have mentioned, it is chaotic movement, very quick and practically uncontrolled. They live their personal life, and the main point is that when you inhale this energy into your lungs, you should wait a bit in order to be touched with the alveolus, and you should not inhale it quickly in order to enter your body. Do you understand the logic? This can be done by two ways. It is either the breath holding, some pranayamas when you saturate yourself with the energy, or vice versa. When you stretch your breath, you get some extra prana due to the air that go in and out, so to say, the process itself. But when you stretch your breath, you get the extra bonus, to say it by modern words. You calm your mind and it directly influences on your thinking. Your breath is directly connected with your thinking. The quicker you breathe, the more your mind will anxious. It will be very active and excited. The slower you breathe, the more your mind will be calm, and you can sum up the situation and make a choice. It is the situation that deals not with the intelligence or foolishness, and from the point of view of prana, to the mind, but with the quality of reality perception. The tool is the same, but to perceive the reality it can differently. So prana influences on this in some way. So if you get a place where there are prana, no, I won't say this way, I say it another way. There is an opinion that prana appeared on the earth. To be more precisely, not appeared. It doesn't grow in the trees or goes out like magma from volcanoes, and it is not created by the living creatures. Actually, just ordinary living creatures consume it. So to say, it is like the extra energy. If you take away it from people, they will die for some times later. So there exists such a theory that can be true and can be competent. Sacred people and wise men leave prana on this planet that came to the level of samadhi, so they can say through their breath on this world after samadhi, and they have the contact with the subtler high world. So while breathing, they improve the air of this planet. Cool. It is so twisted, can you imagine? And an ordinary people has diametrically different situation. He doesn't saturate the planet with the energy, but vice versa, he consumes it. And now we just consume prana. But we remember that one day we will pay debts. One day we will be sacred, reincarnate on this planet, and you will improve it, so what you get now, you will give this off. That is the difference between consumers and the consumer the same, but wastes the energy on everything. So, what is the difference between consumers who consume the same, but waste the energy on everything? The thing is that now you have the possibility to consume this energy, develop and have developed to share your knowledge and the energy with the other people. But for the ordinary person, it is useless because no matter to give him, it will be not enough for him because he is addicted. He is like a drug addicted. No matter you give him, it is not enough. That is why use, please, prana just for good things, for development. Oxygen and prana, I am not a physicist or a chemist, so I can't define. Oxygen reacts with hydrogen and it turns out water. What does prana react with, and what does it turn out? Maybe you can define only on your own experience. These are different things, yes. But from the other side, try to analyze the situation. Let's have such a situation that once you had a thought that was different from you, and you understand that it is absolutely nonsense, and when it came to you, it didn't ask you, didn't call you, didn't warn you now I would get it. It just come to you and set into your mind, and you think, what a thing. Do you understand what I'm talking? So to say, some thoughts come to you that are not yours. I will give you an example so you will understand. Once I receive a message. It is an interesting point of view on Ukraine. Well, I know that there is a war in Ukraine, and the discussion is why the so-called Ukrainian government that took power in winter, having taken away one, and became so nice and good. But do they do such things that are nonsense? It is clear that the economy becomes worse. Some decisions are taken. It does to worse, and it is clear that Putin is accused in all these things. Well, whom to blame? Putin, of course. I'm joking. But the thing was, why do these people do these senseless things? The same people are in your countries, in Syria, where it is clear everything goes to a war and let's fight in order to kill each other. What were people motivated by in order to do such things which lead to wars? Yatsenyuk was discussed particularly. There exists such a person whose grandmother was Bakai. Well, there is a lecture of this guy in the internet. He is quite young. He speaks about the World Bank, about the Federal Reserve System, about some real good and reasonable things. Well, they took the power in Ukraine, and he says one thing, but do another one. Just imagine what an absurd thought, and where did it come from into his head or into the head of this person? Because it is unnatural and inhuman. But nevertheless, this thought came from somewhere. Why did I give you this example? When I read this, I thought that it was really senseless thought. But if somebody has this thought in his mind, so according to physics law, go on, so if there are thoughts in some or another form, they are presented in the reality. But nevertheless, you really mentioned that you can have some thoughts that, to put it mildly, are strange. So the same you can have enlightenment. You can also have obscurations. There are some energies that influence on it. The way you live, the thing you give. This is one of the explanations why prana is connected to wise men who try to change the world for the better at the expense of their lives. Is it clear? I understand that it is a disputable issue, but at least such an opinion exists.
Объяснение, почему прана относится к тем мудрецам, которые пытаются мир в лучшую сторону изменить даже за счет своей жизни. Понятна логика? Я понимаю, это очень спорно и так далее, но, по крайней мере, такая точка зрения есть.
Concerning the battery, you really get more energy making pranayama. It is really so. So you inhale for the time you need more energy than if you inhale your ordinary way. The hidden reserves open and the man is given more energy than usually. If you didn't try, just try this. Now pranayama in the morning is an austerity for you, because you just sit and wait when it comes to the end. The majority of you, but to feel better, just sit more or less comfortable. I don't recommend you to sit with one's legs dangling. Of course, you can sit in the chair, lounging, and start to breathe, but the minus will be the only one. You will enlarge your energy, but passions will also enlarge. Apana vayu will enlarge. You are recommended to sit with your legs crossed in order not to activate your apana vayu. You are okay with it. The question from the audience: what is it? Just sit in Padmasana. He will say that he has just bonded joints. It is logical. There is a new section on our site. There are the schemes to the lectures of Andrey Verba. And there you can find all these sheets and much more. This is the classics of yoga. I didn't invent this. So there are 5 basic energies in the human body. And here it is Apana vayu, the gray spot at the legs level, from the navel and down from it. For the ordinary people, it is just energy. Well, but for yogis, it is a real problem, because Apana vayu is anti-yoga. It won't let you to develop. It will always understate the person consciousness. So it is the energy the yogi should fight when he wants to develop. So minimum 10 years he will fight with it, regularly and always.
Регулярно, постоянно.
I will give you an example. Somebody from you practice yoga not for the first year, and you mention that you practice yoga, support yourself in more or less good energy. You are okay. And once you should go to some meeting using social transport, and you practice, you know your physical parameters, how you make asanas, how you curve into asanas. So you went to some meetings and talked with somebody. You came back home, and what will happen to you? Do you know? Well, who knows? Total stiff feelings. But where did it come from? You even didn't touch anyone. Strange, yes? the energy changes. So to say, the energy really exists if you went and just spoke without huggings, but you came home and that's it. Padmasana reacts perfectly. You had your Padmasana, you practiced it, you went for the meeting, came back home, and what is happening? And just those problems come which you had never had. That is why many yogis choose this way, to isolate from the society, because it is very hard to live in the society by fact. But the main thing is Apana vayu. It influences just on how people are stiff. And really, the exchange of the energy happens, and Apana vayu influence first on the body and on his thinking. Because the more energy you have at the bottom, the more down-to-earth thinking you will have. The stiff one is in some way.
Влияет на сначала тело человека и на его мышление. Потому что чем больше будет энергии внизу у вас, тем более приземленное мышление будет такое, знаете, закостенелое даже в некоторой степени. Чем мы за Апана-ваю начали разговаривать? Не помните, Катя? Мы говорили. Все, благодарю. Действительно, когда вы будете заниматься пранаямой, короче, что я вам хотел сказать? Вы сейчас терпите по утрам. Вот сидите и терпите. Ну, нет.
You are even comfortable. But starting from the 6th minute, the nightmare starts that go on till the end. That is why now you suffer in the morning. You just sit and suffer. Maybe first 5 minutes you don't suffer, because all your life forces are formed to survive. But if you sit in another condition, if you will be more comfortable, and you will breathe with the breath holding or stretching your breath, so you can feel the energy saturation. Pranayama really works from the point of view of the energy. If you solve the problem with your legs, it is the main problem.
Куда поджать?
Не только ноги поставить, но и спину.
Нет, я очень хорошо отдыхаю, когда лежу на спине, и ноги вот полностью.
Lying on your back, there exists such a practice, and I even tell you where it came from. It didn't exist, but actually 30 years ago there were nothing. But approximately from the 90s, the mass flow of foreigners began to India. Really, the massive one. Many foreigners started to come who were really incapable from the point of view of yoga, so to say, wooden, without any bendings or twistings. And the teachers decided to teach them something before they could feel some subtle things, because they would not believe in anything. They will not believe that they should not come. So they decided to meet somebody halfway, or so to say, to make some trick. They told them that they could not sit because they were ill and unhappy men. So just try to lie and try to make pranayama. It is really so, but this doesn't mean that it is reasonable. The person really can get some experience, but it will be 10% from that experience he could get while sitting. The difference is huge between sitting and lying. It can be done even lounging, but with no sense. You will spend a lot of time, but the use of it will be minimum. It is better sitting. The classical example is the following. A student comes to a teacher and says to him, "Teacher, I understood everything in life. It is difficult, I am not happy with anything." It is the situation when a young man came into enlightened fast and was captured by passions. Another situation. The student comes, but this is the student who lived the life. He has everything and got some experience. He grew up children, and now it is time to transfer into another world. And he says almost the same, that he knew everything, understood and wanted to go on further. So his teacher says to him to practice Hatha Yoga to lose the body, to prepare muscles in order to sit in asanas, because without asanas it will be difficult. And people, no matter how old they are, start to practice asanas to come to the stable pose. That is what is the sense of Padmasana, why it is called the royal asana, the best asana, asana of the thousands asanas, and so on. Because Apana vayu is closed in Padmasana. When you can put your legs on your thighs, so your energy stops to go down, and you can catch this energy and lift it up with the help of pranayama. Well, it is for you to be clearer in the picture. This energy you can catch and lift up with the help of pranayama and austerity and samanavaya, pranavaya and udanavaya enlarge. All these energies are more subtle, more positive, because apanavaya wants to make from you an animal. So to say, you make just some primitive function of your body and nothing more. This energy is down to earth, to put it mildly. The next energy will do the next. Manipura will develop your mind, at least if you are a salesman, for example. So with the strong Manipura and Samanavaya, you will be just the business shark. You will be rife and rampant with your competitors. Well, for somebody it is okay. They have this right. If you have strong pranayama, you won't be ill. You will have more energy. And you have udanavaya. You will develop your creative skills. You will be a refined person, an aesthete, and you won't be interested in some low interest, but vice versa, you will cultivate some high things. If it is interesting for somebody, of course, Yanavaya, which surrounds you will push away some negative things. It is also called the aura. Nothing bad will come to you, and everything is due to the energy. It can be said that Apanavaya is crude oil, but you can do any product out of it to use in your life with the help of practice. Clear? In order to you to be clearer, to understand how the aura influences on your life, did you mention that when you are ill and so many difficulties come to you, it is like a break, all the problems just stand in the row between you and come to you one by one, one by one. So to say, one problem drags another one, and there are some situations when you are healthy and strong and you have so much energy that you like an icebreaker, solve all your problems. You came along them but don't touch them. For example, a projectile just flies near you. I exaggerate, of course. So all the bad things are near you, but they can't come closer to you. It is due to the energy that is around you that you don't let these things touch you. The value of Apanavaya is that it is strong. And yoga is the tool that helps you to do good things out of it. Actually, I started from another thing. That if you feel how pranayama works, you will really feel that it really gives power. The question from the audience: when you raise the energy higher, goes to some different areas of thinking, emotions, creativity, so it goes to starvation of the certain centers from the physical point of view. So if you raise them up, this energy should be somehow to be risen. When you worked out with one part and then raised it up, so it is like the physical starvation in some way. I don't agree completely with your concept, but you have a right to think so. I will give you another example concerning the physical starvation or raising energy up. Maybe you won't believe me from my word, but I will tell you the next story. I faced this many years ago when I knew that people can practice difficult things cyclical, by months, by physical way. For example, you come to some monastery. I even can get acquainted with some men. So there are a lot of Europeans there. They come to their teacher and say that they want to pick up with something and get some experience in yoga. He said that no problem. There exists a system of preparing and form. From the beginning, you should read a mantra for 100,000 times. The next step is that you should bring mandala. There exists such a practice when you study to give of things. The man being born into this life can only take. It is from the very childhood. He always takes to himself, and on the next stage, the person is trying to become an adequate person. So there exists the mandala bringing when he started to make 100,000 times, or maybe less, to create a mandala that should be destroyed later by giving off and giving off. So to say, he is taught to give off. It is like a vaccination from consuming.
Мандала потом, да? То есть простирание после мантры.
Сначала мантра, потом очищающая мантра, потом мандала, потом уже гуру-йога.
But the next stage, when he already passed these two levels, he should do spreading so-called, when he should do 100,000 times spreadings. And do you know how they do this? You are not asked there. There are no terms. So if you want to get some blessings, you just do what you are wanted to do. And you just should go to a teacher and tell him that you did all you needed. What do the spreadings mean? You should stand, raise your hand, make namaste, move along the chakras, make spreading, come back and stand. So they make these days and nights. They sleep only when they lose consciousness. So they make, then fall down, then stand up and go on practicing. Again they make, and then again fall down. When I knew about this, I didn't believe. The fragile girls do. Actually, the physical strength and the activity are not connected at all. I also practiced myself. There were such periods like trying to fight thoroughly some blockade or when some energetic problems came to you. Greed came to you and you get used but you get used to live without it, and it's not actually about you. Greed came to you, catch you with your back and keeps, and you can't do anything without it. You will always think about greedy, never whether like it or not. You take away all the things and start to do austerity. And wave your greedy. It won't love you and go away from you, and it will find another victim more compliant. So physical loss or some indisposition are not connected with some activities in yoga or with the energy convertation. This is from my experience and from the people I know. Because I watch this topic for about, I will tell you, it was in 1993 when I first knew that it is possible to practice for months, days, nights. I was shocked. I knew I was a strong man. But when I was suggested to practice, I had my tongue on my shoulder in half an hour. And they do this for a long time. So to say, physical fatigue and practicing are not connected at all. The question from the audience. I meant that from emotional and intellectual activities which it is very hard, our physical body starts suffering. So to say, I understood it that our emotional and intellectual activity uses more subtle energy. Maybe it is your experience, your level. I will give you another example. He is not loved in Moscow. There is one sculpture, Tsereteli. Well, he is not loved by some causes, especially his creativity. But he is in some way a genius. In what? In that way that he sleeps very little and he always does something. He draws pictures at night, he draws everything he could and does by the second and the third cycles. His creativity is enormous. So to say, he is really always in the working process, and he does a lot of things. Yes, by his own way. I don't estimate his creativity, it is bad or good, but he does. Where does he get energy? He has a financial motivation. Financial? No, I don't think so. I think he had everything long ago. No, it is different. There are some people which are, from the point of view of tiredness, is the creative world. I will give you an example. I have a friend who is a violist who woke up her Kundalini somewhere in 1993 or 1994. Then I met her in 6 years maybe. We talked and she didn't become an ordinary person. What I mean, she doesn't almost sleep and almost doesn't eat. She needs 2-3 hours a day for sleeping and she recovers absolutely. She needs a plate of kasha a day and it is enough for her. And all the rest time it is her violin, violin and violin. I can get acquainted with her, you can communicate, and she is an absolutely creative person. Energy is already worked out on the different level. Maybe Kundalini lets to clean the channels when you notice that the energy is spent for good things for these people. I don't know to tell you the truth, but I don't think that Tsereteli uses his low chakras. By looking at what he is doing, he doesn't use them really. All the energy they have, they devote their creativity not to spend anything. At least this violist, she has her own business, of course. She sometimes practices yoga, but most of the time it is her business. All the energy goes there, nothing spent for useless things, no leakages of energy. I heard about this long time ago and I can recommend it to you. A kilo of energy is not bad or good, it is just a kilo of energy. It is important through what chakra you change it, with what tool. If, let it say, you spend a kilo of energy on your anger, you can do it for 10 seconds. Have you ever experienced anger, fury or hate? It is just the volcano. Squeeze like a lemon and then again. The next is sex, the same. Well, it is not 10 seconds, well, 2 hours huggings. Then the tongue is on the shoulder and you should snore for some time to recover. The same 1 kilo of the energy will be spent. At the level of Manipura you can feel your Manipura. Here it is an allegory, of course, because the cake is drawn. Manipura is spent on your intelligence and some thinkings a lot. And when your head works, even the primitive food, but for you to eat 1 kilo of the energy and have the feeling from the food itself. Let it say there is a kilo of strawberry in front of you. First 5-10 berries you feel the taste of it and then no, and you eat them automatically, but the first 10 berries you ate, you felt the taste and you spent your energy and the rest just goes automatically. That is why you should eat some tons of it to spend this amount of the energy. At the level of Anahata chakra, it is often used. It is some affection, so to say, when you feel your love to people you love. This 1 kilo will be spent for 2-3 years and it will be spent the same way. That is why the higher chakra, the more effective, will be using the same energy. That is why creative people who ties to do something positive around have a lot of energy, because they don't spend it for foolish things. Question from the audience. Maybe they have more energy, that is why it is enough for everybody. Of course, the energy potential is small in everybody, so the question is, why do they have more energy? What do you think? Well, let's go from another side. Why does the person has a little energy? And why does somebody has big energy potential and somebody little? According to karma, and why it is according to karma? Right, because you have got, and this you have. The person has the potential just due to his past deeds. There exist creative people and people consumers. If the person creates from life to life, he has the habit of creation. And what does it mean creating? He often meets the desires of the others. Tsereteli, as I said, is financially packed. And why? Because he makes orders. Somebody wants something and he makes this. So he meets the desire of a person, and this man gives him some rewards. The same with this. You came to this seminar. Why? Because you want to receive some knowledge, and my aim is to give you some information, because I am interested in that. The more I give you, the faster I will go further. And somebody of you, through the wheel of life, will be on this place, and maybe will be talking the same things through allegories. It is so-called changeover, because you can't do always the same things. You should develop further. I hope you understand me. The prana control, yes, really. While doing pranayama, you should learn to move prana through the channel. Make it move or in the proper way. There exist special bandhas that allow this prana to collect and rise up. It is an absolutely different topic. I even don't want to talk about it. It is completely another story. So to say, when you just don't want to rise it up along the channel, but there exists such a notion or overcoming of limitation.
Преодоление ограничения. Суть вот в чем. Мне просто придется стереть тогда многое. Ладно, я вот здесь сотру и вам нарисую. Для чего необходимы бандхи.
The main thing is the following. I will draw the system for you when the more wide energy can raise up along the low channels. It is the big tube or the big volume. But if the man has a small hole in this inner world, and he is used according to his karma, he just splash out his energy. You know the emotion, habit or passion. So you say, when the person is addicted to some passion and he can't get out of it. Because once he collects the energy and his passion will addiction come to him and there is no energy, that is why the higher channel becomes thinner. And to fight a habit or passion, the methods of forcing the energy are used. So they get the energy and here the patch is made. It is cemented, so to say, energetically and put into some conditions when there is no your favorite thing which uses. So to say, you put yourself in this condition on purpose when you can't feed your passion. So when the person is put in these conditions, when he can't spend his energy, he has to the so-called energetic sphere, and he suffers. And at a certain moment, if he makes effort, this cord will be broken through the energy, and the energy will go further. So another passion will come to him theoretically, or the other level. And people practice yoga and make bandhas just to collect all prana in the channel, pump and press till the energy will go up. So for this purpose, not only Jalahalanbandha is made. Not only the throat clock is made by many other locks. Mulabandha lets your energy not to go down, not to flow down, so you just press it up. The question from the audience: can you tell in short about Uddiyana Bandha, its influence?
Что? Воздействие?
The same, you don't let the energy go down. You seal it up in order to collect in the channel Sushumna and raise it up.
В основном про канал, когда говорят только об одном канале. Как вы думаете, про какой говорят? Не знаете? Сушумна. То есть именно собрать всю энергию в сушумну.
Why? Because if you have the energy in Ida, so you will be lazy. I draw one channel. Actually, there are three of them, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. If you have the energy in Ida, that I draw the corks, so the energy fills and it looks for exits and it flows in any channels it finds. And if there is a hole, it goes into Pingala. You will be very active and all your energy will release through some foolish things. If it releases through Ida, you will become lazy and cowardly as animals. Each chakra has its own discretion, and each channel in connection with each chakra has the certain parameters. So, that is why they make bandhas to collect all the energy into Sushumna in order not to spend out, and in Sushumna it is pushed up.
Значит, процесс практики, сказал молодой человек, который, по-моему, уже ушел. Но он, я думаю, даже
The question from the audience. When do they do locks after yoga? When do I need to do them in order to do it properly?
После чего?
Я имею в виду, когда их нужно делать, чтобы вот это все правильно было.
Вот давайте я иначе перефразирую.
And when should you turn on gabarites on your car, for example? Or when should you turn on stoplights? When you need, then you do. Then it is needed. There are some people who do them, and there are some people who don't do them. Usually it is not for everybody. Bandha is just for those people who try to influence on his energy. He is supposed to have some clashes, passions, which are under his control. So to say, he passes yama and niyama and he can control himself. So he adds bandhas and starts to press his energy. It is said that the inner world of the person differs. One man has wide inner channels, another narrow. There is 5 grams of the energy. For one man, these 5 grams absolutely fill his channels and he will be happy. But for another man, it will be not enough. The main difference is the following. If the energy will go into your channels at some level of a chakra, you immediately will have the signal to spend it.
А кому-то 5 грамм энергии будет что-то там к стеночке прилипло, не более того. Чем они отличаются? Вот если в ваш канал зайдет энергия на уровне какой-то из чакр, то у вас автоматически появится позыв на что-то. Потратить эту энергию.
That is why one man will go to meet his passions, but for another it will be okay. He can collect even more energy. The main thing is the following. What are they different from? Why one man has such channel when his energy makes him an animal and the other man is okay? The difference is in what the person tried in his past lives. The more he works with his inner world and enlarges it. Do you remember I have told you that he collects and collects and collects and the energy pushed up? This is the process of the channel widening. So to say, the inner world widens this way.
Ладно, не будем на эту тему, потому что это совсем долго, и тем более у вас через полчаса опять хатха-йога.
Что-то сказали про ленивое животное. Правильно понял, что это не там энергия или ее нету?
The energy exists, it is in Ida. That is why the person is lazy and is systemless. Ida is such a special channel. It is not a good one, but it is needed in some way. The question from the audience about the thing channel. So the person collects and collects. 1 kilo is not enough for him, but he does nothing. He will collect energy anyway. Why? Because the life of this person and that person will differ greatly. The wider channels the person has, the more active he will be, the more he can do. That is why in a year he can collect 5 grams of the energy, but another person will collect more. He will stick his channel in the society. If he will be he will be stuck. He will have to work with the other problems, so to say, because there are no other problems. So to say, the problems he will have is just his reflection, because remember this once and forever. All the problems you face in the society or wherever, you are just a reflection of your karma in your past. If you made some problems to somebody, so have honor and conscience to endure it now with dignity.
достойно пережить.